The award-winning A Black Executive Perspective podcast presents A Mixed Executive Perspective. Hosted by Grace Fooden Correy, a biracial executive with a distinct voice on leadership and belonging. A Mixed Executive Perspective.
I'm Grace Fooden Correy, and welcome to A Mixed Executive Perspective. This is a space to explore how mixed identity is read and often misunderstood in corporate culture and beyond. These conversations are for mixed people across race, ethnicity, nationality, and culture, and for parents raising mixed children navigating these dynamics. Today, I'm walking you through mixed women in popular culture and what those portrayals reveal about how mixed identity is read in professional and social spaces. If you've ever felt like you had to explain yourself, edit yourself, or decide how much of yourself was safe to bring in the room, this is the conversation for you. So let's break it down. Today I want to talk about a movie, a very old movie called Imitation of Life. It was made originally in 1934, and it was so successful, it was remade in 1959. Now, all of that was before I was born, but that theme of that movie was about a Black woman who had a white passing child and a difficult relationship that they had in the world together. They also contrast that with her white friend, who the Black mother becomes the maid for, and her white child, who was having a very different experience. One of the most touching moments is when the white passing child, her mother, comes to school and everyone sees that she's got a Black mother, and how difficult that was for her and how hard it was and how much shame she felt about her own mom. Well, I felt that shame sometimes. I was not white passing, I was brown, but I fit completely into the white culture. And when the mothers would come and pick us up after some event at school, my very dark-skinned mother would sometimes come, and it was very obvious that I came from a mixed background. Now, one of my friends' mother, who was very honest, brutally honest, said to me one day, "You're going to have a hard time later in life." And no one else had said that to me, not even my own parents. But I knew, even as a child at 7, that it cut through, that she was telling the truth. I was going to have a different experience than my friends. I was going to have some hard times in life. And I appreciated that from her. So that's how, mixed people were shown in the movies a long time ago. But let's jump forward to today. In Wicked for Good, Elphaba is a mixed woman. Now, she's represented in the movie as being a green person, which I think is kind of interesting. But by the time you get to the end of the movie, you realize that she is the daughter of the Wizard of Oz, and her mother, who's a Black woman, after a drunken night in a bar. Well, there's such a trope of, the reason why a Black and a white person would get together is because they're drunk in a bar. But the fact that they would have a green child is really interesting to me. And she's magical, right? She's able to do all these magic things. Now, what I love about this movie and the progress I see from back in the day is that she's given a romantic story. She's giving a romance. And even at the end, she walks off, with a happily ever after. And then right after the happily ever after, they show that uncomfortable scene with her parents meeting in the bar, getting drunk and getting down. But even though it's still awkward, it's progress. It's something so much further on from that first movie, where that mixed girl is so ashamed of her mother, she just goes off and becomes a stripper. So now I want to bring it to reality TV. There's a show called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I don't know. Occasionally I watch it, probably because there is a mixed girl in there, and I kind of bullseye in on those things. And her name is Layla. And she's the mixed friend in the group of white girls. They all have their long hair and they dress in a certain kind of way. And I don't really care that much about the rest of their lives. But Layla had a storyline in the first couple of seasons of this show where she talks about never having had an orgasm, even though she was married. And I thought, wow, that is so interesting and sad, but it's also her owning her own story rather than someone else owning that story. And she talks about growing up in white culture. And later in the most recent season, she starts talking about how her hair is falling out because she's getting her extensions put in by the same stylist that all her friends do, which is a white stylist. And white extensions and black extensions don't go in the same way. But the only reason why she starts to do something about it is because it's really affecting her hair. It's going to go bald, and that's a big deal for them. So she finds a black stylist, a woman from LA who, for God knows what reason, is living in Utah. And she's clearly from a very different culture than this girl. But they're talking together and she's getting her extensions put in the right way by this black woman. And it's that, again, has the agency to own her own story. She's owning it and showing it in culture. This is something I had never seen a representation like this on television when I was growing up, about hair and how it's taken care of and how black hair and white hair are different. I mean, I remember afros, but, that was different, but that was also political. This is a young woman on a popular show who happens to be mixed race, owning her story. And I think that, to me, is what's so important about it and so important about the progress we've made. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Before we wrap, don't forget to check out A Black Executive Perspective, hosted by TonyTidbit and Chris P. Reed. Each week, they tackle leadership, culture, and the conversations many Black people avoid. You can find it right here on A Black Executive Perspective channel. Thank you for joining A Mixed Executive Perspective, a space where we examine how mixed identity is read at work, in culture, and in the stories we're told about ourselves. If this conversation resonated with you, please share your thoughts and comments wherever you listen to this podcast. In addition, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs the conversation. If it helps us reach more people. Until next time, remember, you belong.
A Black Executive Perspective.